I have an Oscar review of Friday the 13th from 2009, directed by Nispel, and of course, the 12th film in the Friday the 13th franchise. So yes, we are back once again, ready to discuss Friday the 13th on the channel. This time around, the remake, of course, from 2009. And yeah, today there'll be a spoiler warning once again, on this video. If you haven't seen this film, I simply recommend seeing it first and then come back to this video, and we can go from there. We can talk about this from the comments and all things Friday the 13th. So yeah, what I said, let's discuss my thoughts on this film, and yeah, a few things to say about this one, and I think seeing it again for the second time now, it's my first rewatch last night. I think it has grown on me a bit. I did, I think, slightly mention this film, many years ago on the channel. When I first saw this, for the first time, obviously, I didn't see it before. I think it was 2018, that I watched this film, for the first time, and it didn't sit well with me at all, and I didn't really enjoy this film. And I think seeing it again, I did appreciate aspects a bit more, and I did, find a bit more enjoyment, and here and there elements that I enjoyed, liked about the film. But overall, to sum it up, once again, I do still kind of think this is a very disappointing, underwhelming, just lacking of charm kind of remake, of this franchise, and also kind of does interestingly tie together, the first 4 films in the Friday the 13th franchise, in some way, whether that be the kind of recap at the beginning of one, and kind of just the way in which we have kind of different elements and parts, and kind of moments, signature moments, of 2, 3, and 4, that kind of are rolled into this film, and I think it is quite interesting how they've done that, because even though it is a kind of a remake, you would think it would just be the first film, it does kind of tie together elements of the first 4 films, and of course the brother as well, kind of looking for a sister and all this, and it's quite cool as well. They kind of referenced some of the films, in the franchise. But yeah, as a remake, it just does pale in comparison for me, and I think it's far too modern for me. It's just one of those films that kind of lacks a charm, very, very violent, kind of in a cold way, and just trying to get the most, gruesome, kind of, brutal kills, and without the kind of the fun nature at times of this. I think it is very bland at times, and the look of the film, it's just not for me. It's just really, it doesn't look nice at all. There's so much about this visually that I just don't really like. I think some of the reaction shots as well, kind of, some of the characters, their faces, especially at first, was very strange looking, and the way they were framed, and also just the actual texture of this, and just the kind of the focus. It was just, it didn't really work for me. Maybe they were going for something there, but it didn't work for me, and it kind of, some of the shaky cam and just some of the cutting, it kind of made me, it wasn't very pleasant to kind of watch and go through in that sense. But I think I do like some of the opening of the film. We have this massive, lengthy kind of intro to the film with a bunch of characters here, and we have Whitney as the main character, who's kind of, survives, in this. We have Amanda Righetti playing this character of Whitney, and she's obviously, she's captured, as we know. We see soon after the opening, kind of a sequence that she's still alive, and she's being kept alive by Jason, and it's quite strange how that happens, and she's just basically, throughout most of the rest of the film, she's just literally there screaming, cutting back to her, and you see her at times, and different characters going around the area, above her. She's just screaming, a lot of screaming in this film, and it was a bit annoying, I must say, for me. We obviously have, though, Jared Padalecki playing Clay, and he's, her brother, of course, and it cuts ahead, obviously, after the opening sequence, and, I think this is probably the only character that I consistently, enjoyed to an extent in the film. Clay, I thought it was, he meant well, and he was just kind of a pleasant character, a peaceful character. I liked aspects about this, and I did enjoy the performance from Jared Padalecki at times, and I thought just for what he was given, it was just a nice kind of presence, I guess, and the rest of the characters really for me though, because it's kind of in comparison to the rest of the characters, they're not really that enjoyable, and not just that, they are very annoying, and they're quite unlikable. I think really with the exception of Jenna, as a character who kind of does tag along, with Clay at times, she kind of forms this relationship with him, and I think that's one of the only other characters who wasn't irritating, and a bad character really, and so just a few characters that I kind of got something from, but even then, it wasn't something where in the end I could say that I enjoyed this film, and even with some of those characters, and I think it's just quite a cold film, this one, and the characters at times when they're kind of hanging out, and they're going to the house and all this kind of stuff, and even when we have that kind of random feuding for some reason with Clay, and obviously Trent as well, and kind of Trent is the one who he has this big house, and all these friends and stuff are coming back to the house. That's the kind of main bulk of the film. Those are the main characters, and it's kind of this partying and all the kind of stuff that goes on. And Trent, someone who's really unlikable at times in this film, and he's this random feuding at the start, with Clay, and that's something to maybe set up a bit of a kind of rivalry. But it was just done in a very just forced way, and really random. It just felt out of tone there, and it's just very forced and just really silly there. But yeah, obviously Clay does kind of bring some likability to the film, and I think a lot of the other characters though just so annoying, and there's nothing to them really, and the writing here and just the way the characters are kind of built up and then picked off, and they didn't need to be fully likable, kind of relatable, throughout. But it's just a case of they were so irritating, and there was nothing to them, and so one note, and just not nice to kind of watch, and it's a bit unpleasant really, and I think then as well, when they are picked off, some of the kills, they are done well and they're quite gruesome, but other times it's a bit too much. It's kind of well, that's really full on, and it lacks a fun nature to the characters being picked off, and to the actual characters just hanging out. So that's one of the things, and that can sum up a lot of modern slashers. They're just not, especially when comparing to the rest of the franchise of Friday the 13th. They're most of them are so fun and charming, and have that kind of innocence to them. And this film, it's just one of those modern kind of reimaginings, interpretations, modern takes, on the genre that I just don't find to be very fun, or it's nice to watch really. And I think the visuals do add an element to that. It just looks, it doesn't look very good for me. It just looks really quite unpleasant, and it's just not very fun to kind of experience. And I think it has got some redeeming aspects. I think Jason, some of the kills in this, and just some of the moments with Jason, are quite cool, quite epic, and I think some of the way that the group kind of first see Jason, it's fine, I think, and it's got some moments there, but I think really to sum it up, the first batch of characters, other than obviously Clay being the main one who I do quite like at times, in the film, I think the main characters here, I think the first batch of the characters in the open sequence, even though they weren't great either, and they were quite irritating in their own ways, I think they're actually better than the ones we got, throughout the main bulk of the film. So that's a shame, because it kind of, I couldn't fully remember the film, and it kind of teased it, and I thought, oh yeah, of course, these are the characters who get killed off, and they are actually more likable for me personally, over the rest of the characters in the film really as a whole. And as for Jason himself, I just think very mixed results. I wasn't really a big fan personally for me, of Jason in this film. Just didn't think it compared to most of the rest of the franchise. I think just there's something about Jason, his look in this film. The hair and the mask, and the way his head bulges, just the way it bulges out of the mask here, and just his presence. I just really enjoy this, and I think actually in this film, and obviously Derek Mears playing Jason, I do commend the film at times what they were doing with Jason, and some good stunts and all this kind of stuff, some good kills, some scary moments, but I think overall it just lacks a kind of charm and a fun nature to Jason, and more of an annoyance really, a frustrating presence in this film actually for me, Jason, and just the way he kind of chases the characters. It could have been done well, but I think what they were going for with the kind of him running and being quite quick, and running of course, and then killing the characters and all this, and just the way he's able to kind of really bound around and kind of thing, and really be quite agile. I just didn't enjoy that element of the film, just the way it was executed here, and I think just the design of of Jason in this film I wasn't a fan of. The hair especially, that was the main thing that really the hair of the film was the worst part of Jason visually, and it's just I think throughout the film just really underwhelming. His presence, definitely one of my least favourite kind of interpretations personally of Jason in the franchise, and I think as well the way that Jason kind of the final act, the way it kind of culminates with him kind of building up potentially a gruesome moment, and quite a cool moment, but then it just kind of, that's disappointing as well, the way that Jason kind of is defeated. And obviously the ending as well, we have Clay and Whitney kind of standing around the kind of lake there, and looking out, and back in the daytime, and then Jason, kind of put to the bottom of the lake, and then of course he comes up and breaks through, and kind of attacks Whitney there, and so that was just not an ending that I personally enjoyed. I can see what they were trying to do there, but it wasn't really for me either. So overall, one of my favourite aspects of this film was definitely Clay, and a couple of the other characters and some of the elements of this. I enjoyed some of the locations, some of the kills. I think favourite part was just kind of Clay going around on the bike. First looking around for. Whitney, of course, handing out flyers, posters. Have you seen Whitney and all this? It was done in a fairly charming way at times, and I think Jared Padalecki, his performance in this was definitely my favourite personally, and I somewhat enjoyed this character of Clay, and just some peaceful moments at first when he's kind of just going around, and just some nice locations there, and it was definitely one of my favourite aspects of the film. I think. Other than that, and a couple of the characters and some of the moments in the film that were quite epic and cool, and some of the kills, I wasn't a fan of this film personally, and it's just not one that does it for me. It's definitely very, very disappointing as a reimagining and as a remake of the franchise, the first film, and also, as we know, some of the other films kind of rolled into this. The first 4 films, really, it's just not for me personally, and it's not at all a film that has much of a sense of humour other than the first kind of opening sequence, and it really lacks a charm and a fun factor for me overall. And so my rating for this film is a 43%, so not a high score from me at all, and it's a one that, I don't think it's an awful film. It's better than I thought it was first time round, but it's still not a film that I enjoy personally, and it's just, as a remake, as a reimagining, it's just very underwhelming, and it lacks a charm, it lacks a kind of a warmth, kind of energy at times. It is quite bland, and it's got some real boring moments for me, and just really lacks the kind of funny or likable characters at times, and the way they're picked off. It's not really satisfying, and some of the kills in themselves, well done, quite gruesome. Some of them are a bit too much, but it's just overall, despite all that, whatever the case with the kills and the kind of effects and the physicality of this, it just lacks a charm and a fun, as a slasher film for me. So it really doesn't matter too much about some of the cool kills, because it's just not really done for me in a fun way like it could have been personally. I didn't like the visuals to the film overall, other than some of the locations and some of the effects. I just didn't really like the colour palette, and to all the visuals to the film, they didn't really do it for me at all. And some of the editing was just a bit off as well, just for my liking. And so that's my thoughts on the film. Definitely some cool moments and some highlights, some elements that I enjoy, but overall not one that I get much from, and it's just not overall an experience that I had a good time with personally. So that's my thoughts. What do you think on this film? It'd be great to hear in the comments, your thoughts on this film, and how does it compare for you to different films in the franchise. And next up will be the ranking of the Friday the 13th films. The Freddy vs. Jason review is up on the channel. That was done a few years ago, and you can check that out if you want my thoughts on that film. I will be watching that again, but I won't be reviewing that film again. And for the ranking, I'll just go straight to the ranking. Obviously, that'll be up, as I've said before, on the Friday the 13th this month, and I look forward to that and hearing your rankings as well in the comments. But for now, let's discuss this film and all things Friday the 13th in the comments. So yes, as always, take care and thanks for watching.